I mean, based on this title, are we going to end up with a new movie called Crazy Rich Asians, the Outlet Edition? Like, no more high end shit. They're going to be at the Coach outlet getting like 3 purses for 450. That's a big deal in Michigan. Everyone goes to Coach outlet. They got to go. They drive up to like Birch Run, and I think we just got our first Hermes store.
Oh yeah, is it at the Somerset?
It's at Summers. I don't know if it's open yet, but I remember it was like, well, I remember talking to people, and it's like, what's Hermes? I'm like, oh shit, they're going to struggle. So, like, I mean, there's people around here that are definitely going to go, buy a lot of the smaller items. They're not going to be buying Kelly bags and Birkin bags and shit, but the outlets are big around here. It's go hit the outlet. I think we had we got a Nordstrom outlet, and then we had like a Saks outlet, and you got to go ball around a budget when times get tough, man. But I just have a feeling that this is probably going to slow. I just don't know how much. Isn't there like a crazy, crazy amount of wealth in China?
Yeah.
My running joke on the show, it's the people that go what recession. So like, I think a lot of these people got so much cash, they're not gonna. I mean, if a lot of the sales is coming from that like middle class and things slow down, then yeah, but which I mean that probably does make up quite a bit of the market. But if you got a mad amount of money, you're not slowing down buying nothing.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna butcher this statistic, but you'll kind of get the point. I think I read it somewhere that there are more individuals with a net worth of $110,000 in China than there are in the U.S. It's either like individuals or households. I think there are 99 million or something in the U.S. and then there's 100 million in China.
I mean, China's population is a little bigger.
Yeah, that too, but
I get it. I'm just
yeah, I hear you.
I don't. That's the same shit though. They got like a tremendous amount of wealthy people, and then they got a tremendous amount of people struggling. It's
absolutely.
But it's that thought of even here. I get in this debate often where people think that the middle class is shrinking. It's world's coming to an end. I'm like, they don't realize that. I'll send them a link. I'm like, I'm not arguing with you. I'm gonna send you. I'll fucking text you a link. A lot of the middle class went up. They went to upper middle. As more people went to college, they got jobs in finance, and the healthcare industry blew up. And Kane, it's not that hard to make 75 grand in the healthcare industry. If you go get RNs, make that kind of money. The people that get in radiology make that kind of money. It's something that if you go get some education, and we're not even talking finite mathematics here. It's not easy, but it's not beautiful mind mathematics with Russell Crowe. You got to go to school and you got to learn some shit, but you can get a good paying job doing that. The middle class did go up quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just hard for people to think that it's so, because the whole narrative is the middle class is destroyed and everyone's poor and broke. That's bullshit. If that's the case, why are we building so many of these huge houses everywhere? It's not just because the rich got richer. When the rich got richer, they're building fucking mansions. They're not building 3,500 square foot homes. And you had to really step back and see, like, there's more luxury cars. There's more, like I just said, we're opening up our first Hermes in Michigan. There's more luxury goods stores. Luxury goods are booming. That's not just a subset of the rich consuming more. There's more people with more money. So,
yeah, an interesting kind of thought I've just had, James, is like, let's say that the Chinese spend does come down a little bit. I mean, I think strategically it would make sense then if Hermes is seeing that on the horizon, just go and try and find pockets of money in the States. Somerset in Troy would be one, but like, what do you think then? Where do you think the luxury brands would go if the spend did come down?
I don't know if there's like a, any port in a storm. I don't know if there's a port for this one. You're going to have those, that the top 1% of the 1% that is sitting around going, what recession? And then everyone else is going to like, oh, I'm going to trim back on my spending. We also overconsumed in the last 18 months. You could also be seeing pull ahead right now.
Oh yeah, you can see it on that chart here.
Yeah, look at the fucking spike. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like I like following luxury goods to see what they're doing from branding, and that's how I like to model some of the stuff I do in my businesses. But if you look at I think Chanel's raising prices every 3 months or every 6 months. I think it might be every 6 months right now. If you jump on like the purse forums and you start looking at some of the feedback, it's like their prices are getting astronomical, but a lot of people are complaining about the quality. And it's like there was this big consumption, and I think everyone just tried to get as much product out as possible. But we overconsumed, they over manufactured. And it's like at some point, it's like, okay, I'm probably good for a little while. And that's back to that pull ahead thought, right? It's people that were going to buy. We bought 3 years worth of shit in the last 12 months.
Yep.
So that was propped up by the government giving us money. It's been propped up by people not having to pay their bills. It's been propped up because instead of spending money on travel, they were spending it on goods. And now you're sitting around your house like, I got a lot of shit. Hell, you know who's probably going to boom is like California closets. People bought so much shit they need bigger closets now.
Yeah.
I got it. This is not sustainable, right? We're not going to keep buying stuff at this pace. We joke about you can't buy a jet ski. Jet skis are sold out for 2020.
Right.
I get jet skis are sold out. What? Come on. You couldn't you still can't get bikes around here. I called the place. I'm like, can I order a bike? And they're all 20. This is like in spring. Like 2021s are sold out. And I'm like, 2021s are starting. He's like, 2021s are sold out. I'm like, can I get a 2022 maybe? He's like, well, that's not guaranteed. It depends on how much allotment we get. I'm like, you telling me I can't buy a fucking bike for the next 18 months? It's Kane, did we get like an influx of 100 million people in this country that I don't know about that all went and bought bikes?
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. So we have an overconsumption issue that's going to come back to bite us. It looks like we're already seeing it. So, I mean, maybe even the rich bought too much shit. Is that possible?
Relative. Yeah.
It's like we used to go to the what we call the rich people neighborhoods, and they're throwing away shit that you can't even. But it like blow your mind that they're throwing it. Like, used it for like a year and they're throwing it out right now. It's like, that's what's gonna happen. They got so much shit. I need to go hit one of those like sub sales where everyone's doing the garage sale in the sub, and they're probably selling a bunch of luxury goods.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day, James. Like, I know every generation, every few decades, you're like due for a society like some sort of disruptive thing, like whether it's some sort of war or, some sort of attack or just something that like really disrupts the fabric of society. And then I was thinking, like, since I've been a professional, it's been a while now. Like, never in my life would I thought that we would go through this place where we'd all be at home, and like supply chains would be disruptive and luxury would go out of control. Like, it's just the wildest time. I was just reflecting on that the other day. I would never have anticipated this.
Man, I didn't anticipate it, but I'm always expecting that next thing to come. And I think people always think that next thing's going to be a war, for example, or just
right.
Another housing market. I mean, people have been talking about housing market crash since the last housing market crash. But it usually comes in the form of something that we are excited for, or we just don't know that you're in it. And like, we definitely weren't excited for COVID, but this like spending spree we've been on with the extra money and the consumption and the endless spending right now, people are enjoying that. They just buy whatever they want whenever they want, and then you don't really realize what's going on. The housing market going crazy, right? People 15, 20, 30 bids on a house, lines around a house for open houses. It's this excitement, and you don't realize it's not a good thing. But you're sitting around Yeah, it's easy to get bored in modern life, right? It's we're looking for anything to get excited about.
Yeah.
And stock market's going crazy, houses are going crazy, all this shit's going like everyone, Bitcoin's going, everyone's trying to get in on everything, right? And you don't realize like, but what's really going on? Do you think this is what it's going to be like forever? And it kind of happened with the housing market in 2006, 7. That's what happened with the tech boom in 2000, right? When you're in it, you're like, holy shit. And no one, I mean, people do. We're talking about it, right? But most people are like thinking that it's never gonna end. The ride never ends. And hell, the people in China that those tech companies, they thought that was never gonna end, right?
Right.
And then what was it, Jack Ma, Tennyson?
Yep.
Yeah, they all got their nuts clipped, like real quick.
Yeah.
And you realize like a lot of the stuff in life that we're kind of like in these like fads. It's why do we never sit there and go, this isn't sustainable?
That's a really interesting point, James. That, like, I'm going to try and bring up an example. I've been texting back and forth with a friend of mine. This is a really old friend of mine, and I know the company he works for. He works for kind of a big tech firm, and he's thinking of moving. He's going through interviews and things, and he's been kind of reporting what's happening. And he was saying like, oh, it must be a great time to be in the industry that we're in, right? Which is primarily human capital and things, and because remote work has been such a game changer. And when you said things like, oh, do people expect this stuff to last forever? It's just this thread that I've been like noticing in certain individuals that are in my circle, like the idea that you would make a decision now in this period of like what I would refer to maybe as like super volatility, just in terms of like the dynamics around work, the dynamics around the way people are living. Maybe I'll be wrong when we look back in 3 or 4 years, but it seems so risky to make decisions now that are important, like where you work and things. The idea that things are going to last forever based on how they look now, at that point really hit home for me.
I mean, that's just what I've seen my whole life. We never think the roller coaster ride is going to come to an end. If you've ever been on a roller coaster, it always comes to an end way faster than you thought. What's a roller coaster ride, like 32 seconds? That's how long most shit lasts. It seems like COVID here is to stay, but other than that, people are going to have to pay their rent. They're going to have to pay their school loans. The fat unemployment's going to come to an end. Life's going to kick back into normal, Kane. The stock market's not going to go straight up. If it does, cool. It usually doesn't. The housing market looks like it's already cooling off. Lumber prices have started to fall. Realities will set in. But I just feel like every time we're in one of these moments, there is this like hysteria. It's almost like the people that kind of get sucked into the mass chaos and like riots and shit. And people that never thought that they would riot end up rioting. Because like there's something that just takes over. And I think that's what happens every time there's a big boom or a big bubble. And everyone just jumps in. The crypto train. I mean, you heard people back when Bitcoin hit 60. Like, this is going to go to $1 million.
Right.
And then it dropped by like 50%. And I'm saying it won't go to $1 million, but in that time, in that hysteria, you're like, it's like, we're going to be rich, bitch. Like, they're just fucking going crazy. And then it drops. And then they're depressed. Because isn't that what usually happens?
Well, you stop believing in the regression to the mean, right? Like making decisions on the idea that things don't regress back. I just don't get it.
If even people looking at the crypto sometimes, if you look at the like market cap or something, and if you think, well, Bitcoin's going to go from this to that, and you got to think about, well, that means that each coin's worth X amount, which would make this market cap worth like $10 trillion.
Yeah.
And you realize, like, well, you realize how much money's got to go into it to get to this number in your head that you think it's going to go to. And I'm not saying nothing's impossible anymore, Kane, but did you think that much money was going to, because they're thinking that if Bitcoin goes to this number, then, I'll be like independently wealthy. I'm like, but do you realize how much capital is going to have to pour into Bitcoin for you to get to that number? Do you realize how unrealistic it is?
And then human nature will be that, like, you won't sell when it hits that number. Like, people get greedy, and then it'll come right back down.
It's it's the wild west, but we are caught up in that. I was walking on the street to go get some Nando's, and a riot broke out, and I was planning on just getting some chicken. And now I'm riding because something took over, and you get caught up in that shit. So
yeah,
every time this happens, 2001, 2000, the housing, like every time we get caught up in this shit. And it seems like no one ever seems to understand that the bar closes at 2, at least in Michigan. And there's really no after party. You know what the after party is? It's for the cool kids, which is the ultra rich.
Yeah.
You're probably going to lose your shit.
Yeah.
Hey, it's like you said, the volatility. I'll make moves career-wise right now. I'll make the right moves. If I see great opportunity, great time to do it. But to just go take advantage of the situation, or you start making moves just to take advantage of something, then you might actually put yourself in a worse spot. Because we start to lose sense of reality. There's no, what is reality? It's like an alternate reality now. And we think that alternate reality is going to stay the same. And yeah, it's not. But
no, I hear you. So just to kind of press that point a little bit more, I agree that if there's a great opportunity now, people should go and take it. But I also believe that, like, very few people have kind of used this time to actually increase the value that they can bring to an organization. And okay, so in this current volatile environment, you might be incredibly valuable to an organization, right? They need the manpower or whatever. But like we said, when things regress back to the mean, and the leadership looks around the organization and says, okay, well, like, who do we actually still need? You're no more valuable in terms of skill set, so to speak, like as you were 18 months ago for the last and first out.
Hey, I've been telling people that my whole life. No one wants to listen to that shit. They're on TikTok getting their career advice right now. 100% truth, Kane. Last in, usually first out. If you just started with a new company and unless they really need you, and the shit hits the fan and it's time to lay people off, you're gone. And there's a bigger. To me, it's very strategic, right? The people I know that have climbed the ladder at large corporations fast, that have done amazing things, it's all been very strategic. Like, the rules to that game haven't changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just social media wants to tell you it has. Kane, it hasn't. Most things in life that for you to get to the top haven't changed. In a other episode, I made a comment about in some states, I know it's illegal for people to ask your salary, companies to ask your salary. But let's just say in the old days when people are trying to play that game of, when a company asks your salary, you're like, well, I don't want to tell you that. Because the whole thought is you want to negotiate as much as you can, right? And I don't blame nobody for that, Kane. I think you should be trying to get as much money as you can. That's just common sense. Do what's best for you. Here's the problem, right? Let's just say you're making 70 grand and somehow you gave off the impression you're worth 110. But they don't know that you were making 70. So somehow you get them to pay you 110. The problem is, Kane, you're not a $110,000 person.
Right.
And then you show up to that company and they realize that this is not a $110,000 person. What happens?
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Peace out.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried telling people that you can overvalue yourself and have and now you're like you've been at a job for 3 months and you get let go, and that doesn't look good on your resume. And then you go do this shit again and again. The next thing you know, you got 3 jobs in like 2 years, and it starts to look bad because you keep, it's and instead of this is why those conversations are so important. Or even then, like not trying to oversell yourself to begin with. Like try to fight to get a reasonable wage for what you're worth to that job. So, okay, when the shit hits the fan, that person who was really a 70, 80K person that got 110 and the shit hits the fan, guess who gets fired first?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not even fired, they get laid off or whatever. And
yeah.
I see people do this over and over and over and over again. And or they try to jump titles too fast. Like they want to go from like manager to director, and they make the jump too quick, and then they fail at director 2 times because they're not at that level yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start applying for manager jobs. And then the problem is now the company's like, well, you're a director, you're overqualified.
Right.
So you've built this resume trying to grow too fast that shows that you look like a director, but you're not good enough to be a director, so you fail. But now you scare companies off because you look overqualified. It's not that hard to put a plan together strategically and make sure you're making the right moves. But we are so kind of narcissistic at times. Some people undervalue themselves. Many people overvalue themselves. It's everyone wants to be a manager at 23 years old with 1 year experience. If you just look back and you go look at the people who were successful and what they did, Kane.
Yeah.
It's not that fucking hard, but we don't do that. So to go, take advantage of something saying, hey, I can go make a $30,000 salary jump right now. It's cool until you're calling the unemployment number.
Yeah. And what happens is people will go and find the one example of the job hopper that made it to the CEO of Fortune 50 and say, yeah, but they did it, not realizing that that person is probably inherently brilliant.
Yeah, you actually won't find many of those cases.
No, right. We looked at that a long time ago. It's in a study.
And even if you do find it, I still look at the 5 most successful people I know that don't run their own company, and they all follow the same pattern. So it's just one of those things that you end up I say you burn yourself out. You try to climb the ladder as fast as you can. You try to get as much money as you can, and by the time you're like 35 or 40, your career fizzles. And what these people don't realize is, unless you're independently wealthy or you got some inheritance coming, you got 20 more years to work. You got to get through your 40s and your 50s. Hell, maybe even through part of your 60s.
Mm-hmm.
No one is playing that game. They got this very short vision. Kane, do you know anyone that has done really well that has the only thing about the short game?
No, I don't know anybody who's done that.
And that sums up all the world right now. It's me, and it's right now. It's instant gratification. No one wants to put the work in. No one wants to make the sacrifice. But they want to be, where someone has spent 20 years grinding, they want to be there in like 2 years. Ken, I'm always looking down the road 2, 3, 4, 5 years and what kind of moves I need to make.
Right.
The short-term plays never really pay off unless there's like an arbitrage opportunity that you got to jump on. So, yeah, you look at the extreme volatility. There is moves to be made in this chaos. I feel like there's people making a lot of stupid moves, or when they got the right move in front of them, they're not even taking that move.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens with spending. I don't think it's sustainable. Hey, stock market keeps going up. Bitcoin keeps going up. Salaries keep going up. It's going to be sustainable for a while. But looking at that chart, if you just kind of draw like those lines, you don't need to do it. But if you just think about it, if you just averaged out that line before the spike, where it should be, take a guess where it's probably going. I don't think people are going to like that too much.
Draw this out a little bit. Something like that.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Interesting times.
Interesting times. Granted, those lines don't. It's just one of those things that get you thinking. It's not Maybe it is scientific to someone in the financial world, but I look at that, back to the regression to the mean. You start looking at where we're going is based on where we were going, before COVID. It's like once we remove all these different dynamics that are affecting things, we will go back to normal. Now it might be a new normal that sets a different trend, but it's not going to be this.
Yeah.
And we will see what happens.
We will see.
All right, I'm gonna catch you.
Yeah, thanks, Shane.